Thank you very much, Mr. Boni, and thank you for Professor Dudek's team to have such a telling example of the potentialities of innovation and what we could achieve with connected health. Just a few words about ACT. So the ACT Association is one of the most representative associations active in representing app developers, and we always had an advocating campaign and a motto about defending environment that stimulates innovation. And we have to do this, but not to the detriment of consumer, because if we lose the consumer perspective, we lose our client, and it can be detrimental to our whole industry. So the issue of mHealth and maybe more specifically the shift between connected health to digital health is a paradox, because it's full of promises in the one hand, but it is always it has another element which is determining with the real privacy concerns, so with data protection issues that we need to address. So how to do it in a pragmatic way, how to do it in an efficient way, and not in an over-regulating way. This is one of the elements of reflection I will share with you, because we, as an association, were very active in the drafting team of the Code of Conduct on mHealth, so which will give some to the app developers some guidelines about the implementation and practical example that could be achievable to put or to help the enforcement of the general data protection regulation that will be enter into force on the 25th of May 2018. So the date is approaching and the clock is ticking, so we must be all aware of this. So let me maybe give you categorize digital health or health data. Within the general data protection regulation, it is meant to be a sensitive data. So sensitive data requires some additional measures to collect consent. So it has to be explicit, and when you have the consent of the user, then you can process the data, you can store them, but you have to do it under specific conditions. So the whole work that we've been doing with colleagues from the consumer side, colleagues from major app developing companies, also the platforms that were all together in this business community that was supervised by the European Commission, DG Connect, and in relation with the Article 29 Working Party, which gathered the national regulators at EU level, was very productive. And I must say, if we manage to have the endorsement of the Article 29 Working Party for the health sector industry, it will be a very good news, because we will have one of the first examples of achievable code of conduct, soft law instrument that will be to the benefit of the whole market. So I will just give you a few examples, a few sectors of the elements related to the code we have that are important to focus on. Purpose limitation, so it means that the data will only be concerning health data. So we need to make sure that the data you collect from this health perspective won't be transformed or aggregated into another kind of data. Data minimization is also important, so you keep the data just for the time limitation that is needed for the process. That is also an important element to raise. Transparency and information to the user will be key, and this is the third criteria that the Code of Conduct tries to reflect. And of course, privacy by design elements. So privacy means that you have, when you elaborate or you create your solution, your technical solution, you have to integrate this privacy concern at every stage of the development of the product. And if you reflect this, it will show that you will have this this kind of endorsement, or you won't be at risk related to GDPR requirements. Privacy by default means that by default you set up the less restrictive or maybe the less pro-consumer standards that will be put in place. Children protection is also a very important requirement. You know, on the consumer side, it's very sensitive, and we know from the market perspective, if we want to be efficient in this way, in this direction, we need to have the parents on board. We need to have the consumer community on board to reassure on that. And of course, this element will be followed by a whole governance canvas that will ensure the privacy impact assessment with a specific person that will be a kind of contact point with the data protection authorities. So it will be the kind of envoy, I would say, eHealth envoy, that will be corresponds between the app developers and the data protection regulators. So it is important to focus and to bear in mind that these criteria, these elements are not meant to be a constraint for the industry. They're meant to be an advantage, because if the app developers and specifically in the eHealth sector will comply with this criteria, they can have a kind of certification, and it will be a competitive advantage in this market that will be very helpful, because if you have the kind of privacy compliance seal and you move into this logic of the code of conduct, it will mean that you, compared to the other competitor, will have the possibility to communicate on the fact that your business model is not at risk with privacy breaches compared to the other. So from connected health to digital health, from our perspective, means full of potentialities, and the market of the app developers benefits from these great technological advancements that were reflected in Professor Dudek's team. It was amazing to see on a display how you can really change from Brussels to Krakow, and you can even operate a patient remotely. So this is very, very interesting to see that. But in the other hand, privacy requirement needs to be addressed, and we as the App Association are putting all our effort to make this constraint an opportunity and a pro-market opportunity, because the qualitative positioning of the industry will benefit to everybody, to the business, to the consumer, and to the whole sector. So thank you for this kind invitation, and I was really happy to bring this additional regulatory perspective to this developments, amazing developments on eHealth. Thank you very much.